Hello and good evening, everyone. I'm Don Arleth, and welcome to Flash News. Over 475,000 people have so far been vaccinated as part of the National Vaccination Program. The first dose of the vaccine has just been given to residents in senior-assisted living homes.
Nearly 1.5 million Poles declared their will to get vaccinated against COVID-19. Registration can be completed online. When the time comes for the age group to which such an applicant belongs, then there will be contact and priority for these individuals to sign up for vacant immunization appointments. Vaccination of residents of nursing homes has begun. This is a high-risk group. At the beginning of the epidemic, it was among residents of nursing homes that COVID spread very quickly. Another 180,000 doses of Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine have also arrived in Poland.
After more than 2 months off of school, the youngest elementary students in grades 1 through 3 have returned to the classroom. Although they are back in school, teachers and their students are bound by additional safety rules. Here's more.
Students missed school. I wanted to go back to school because it is always fun to be in school. I'm glad to have met my friends, as well as teachers. I'm very happy that the kids are back in school and that we are back as well. Classes will be held with additional safety rules. Each class may stay in one designated classroom. The same teachers are to be assigned to the group. As far as the breaks are concerned, in case of classes from 1 to 3, the teacher himself decides when it should take place. The children also leave separately for the break wearing masks. It is also advisable to ventilate classrooms and rooms in common areas. Students and teachers must also remember to disinfect their hands frequently. The return of grades 1 to 3 to elementary school will positively influence the effectiveness of learning and interaction with peers. Lessons via the internet are a necessary substitute in this situation, but face-to-face interaction is essential. Senior elementary and high school students continue to learn remotely.
Now we go abroad, and it's no surprise that more countries are introducing further restrictions. According to researchers at Johns Hopkins University, the worldwide death toll has already exceeded 2 million. In just 1 year alone, 95 million people have been infected.
In France, just over 300,000 people have received the first dose so far. From now on, people at increased risk of severe disease, regardless of age, can be vaccinated. We will vaccinate more than 1 million people with pre-existing conditions. The vaccination system in Germany is overwhelmed, as the daily newspaper Die Welt reports. Digital registration has proved to be a major problem. Almost every federal state has set up its own vaccination registration system, and almost every state has problems. 13 million people in the United States have been vaccinated since mid-December, but just over 1 million have received a second dose of their vaccine, so the federal government has called on states to make strategic stockpiles. And the head of the WHO has called on the world's richest countries to distribute the vaccines fairly.
Just 25 doses have been given in one lowest income country. Not 25 million, not 25,000. Just 25. I need to be blunt. The world is on the brink of a catastrophic moral failure.
Alexei Navalny called on Russians to take to the streets and not remain silent. The oppositionist and fierce critic of Vladimir Putin was arrested on his return to Russia. He will remain in custody until mid-February.
Alexei Navalny, Vladimir Putin's enemy #1, returns to Russia and was immediately taken into custody. The oppositionist flew from Germany, where he was recovering after being poisoned with a chemical agent from the Novichok group. He was detained in front of passengers even before officially crossing the state border. Don't be afraid, take to the streets. Don't do it for me, come out for your sake and your future. The UN and Western countries have ordered Russia to immediately release Navalny. President Andrzej Duda also took a stand on this issue. He stressed that the actions of the Russian authorities cannot be left without consequences for the international community's relations with this country.
In just 2 days, Joe Biden will be sworn in as President of the United States. This year is much different from any other. Wednesday's inauguration will be held without a public audience present in the nation's capital due to concerns about potential attacks and the pandemic. It will be preceded by events commemorating Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and the victims of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Instead of crowds of Americans, National Guard soldiers will gather in front of the Capitol on Wednesday. A total of 26,000 of them will be deployed in Washington. The Capitol, filled with security barriers, will be blocked off and streets, bridges and subways will be closed. All this to make it difficult to organize a protest around the Capitol building. Donald Trump will not appear at the inauguration of his successor. Vice President Mike Pence will be in attendance. The battle for the life of a Pole who is in a British hospital after suffering a brain injury continues. The local court and medical representatives decided that it is not worth keeping him alive. The man's mother, among others, does not agree with this decision. On the recommendation of President Andrzej Duda, representatives of British diplomacy intervened. Polish scientists, writers and columnists have signed an appeal for the repatriation of the sick Pole to Poland. At least 12 miners have been waiting for help underground for more than a week after an explosion at a gold mine in China's Shandong province. Those trapped managed to hand rescuers a piece of paper with a handwritten note. 22 miners were underground at the time of the explosion. The fate of 10 is unknown. Internet users criticize the actions of local authorities who delayed to release information about the accident. Milan is curbing cigarette smoke on streets. A ban on smoking within 10 meters of another person comes into effect. In practice, this means a complete ban on smoking in many places. The rule is part of a larger plan to combat smog in the city. Scientists have shown that up to 1% of Milan's air pollution comes from cigarette smoke.
Jerzy Brzęczyk is no longer the head coach of the Polish national football team. This surprising decision was announced on Monday in a short press release by the Polish Football Association. Neither the successor nor the reasons for his sudden dismissal have been announced yet.
2.5 years ago, Jerzy Brzęczyk replaced Adam Nawałka after the failed World Cup in Russia. He led the national team in 24 matches. He won half of them, and although he advanced with the team to the European Championships, the style presented by the Polish team left a lot to wish for. Well, unfortunately, this matter was too big for Jurek. The coach should be someone from abroad. Zbyszek has such excellent contacts, so many colleagues, he has great authority. Perhaps we will know Brzęczyk's successor during the conference scheduled for Thursday. Let us wait for those emotions to calm down a little. For sure, President Boniek will explain everything. But it will be difficult to calm the emotions because there are very important matches ahead of the Polish national team. In March, they will start the qualifying round to the World Cup, and in June, they go to the Euro Cup.
Education is priceless, even a luxury. An exhibition in New York is intended to draw attention to the ever-increasing cost of higher education in the United States. Its creators claim that it's the most expensive work of art in the world, as evidenced by the number of diplomas used to create it.
The title of the most expensive work of art is astronomical. If you add up all the college students working on a 4-year degree, it is the equivalent to $470 million. This is just 20 million more than was paid for the painting Salvator Mundi by Leonardo da Vinci, considered the most expensive work of art in the world. The installation draws attention to another sad aspect of studying in the United States. It is the debt that 45 million Americans have incurred in order to attend college. Hungry for art in a picturesque setting, the French turned out en masse for the reopening of the garden at the Rodin Museum in Paris. The place had been closed since November due to restrictions. The museum still does not allow visitors. For now, visitors can stroll through the garden's walkways and admire some of the more than 6,000 sculptures by French master artist Auguste Rodin. They were one step away from extinction. Fortunately, their fate was not indifferent to humans. For 17 years in Kenya, there have been extensive efforts to save the forest bongo. Only here, these antelopes can be found in the wild, and it is still a rare sight. Many have been sent to zoos around the world. Some of the bongo are returning to their homeland and the sanctuary created for them by the local authorities, where these animals can return to their original habitats.
And now we've reached the end of our program. Thank you for joining us here on Flash News, and please come back and join us again tomorrow. See you then. Good night.